There you go.
Hello and welcome to the AI Revolution call. I am Cody Willard. That's Bryce Smith. We work together at a hedge fund. We've been investors in AI related stuff, including NVIDIA, for like 7 or 8 years now. Google, it's our favorite AI play at this particular moment, I would guess. Down below here is Johnny Boy, John Dio. You can find him on Twitter. He is an AI, he's an old soul AI guy. He's been doing AI for decades, long before it became trendy and cool. And I'm honored to call him a friend for more than 30 years at this point. So I don't know if he calls me his friend, but I call him my friend. So
31 years, 4 months, 8 days, and no, just kidding.
Something like that.
I was just tweeting about the call, and I was going to say we are live, and I typed "we are friends," and I caught it before I clicked tweet. But
no, that's true too.
We are live, and we are friends.
There you go. There we go. I get to work with a friend every day, Bryce, and I get to work with John about 2 or 3 times a month on these calls. At any rate, look, let's talk some AI revolution stuff. I think probably first and foremost, we touched on it a little bit last week, but let's just hit on it again. The Robo-Taxi rollout from Tesla continuing apace. They've had a lot of success, no major disasters, and no news is good news when it comes to robo-taxiing.
Yeah. So I have a friend who doesn't, I wouldn't say knows anything in particular about technology. You know, she hears what she hears, but she was like, "Oh, have you seen this Waymo stuff? It's really cool and everything." I said, "Well, you know about Robo-Taxi, right?" And she says, "No." I said, "It's, you know, the same kind of thing of doing the automated driving." And she's, "Yeah, but I think Waymo has far better technology."
Who said this?
Someone to be unnamed. No, just somebody I know was we were out to lunch and
had they ever been in a Waymo or a full self-driving Tesla, or they were just pontificating?
Think of this as your
social feed.
Typical non-technical middle class person
who has probably neither been in either one.
Right.
No, so John, this is not a marketing call. This is an AI call, but Tesla is the world's leading physical AI revolution company, probably the leading.
Oh, totally. I'm just like, this is why, even though it's not a marketing call, I just like, it's
No,
interesting.
let me finish where I'm going with this. It's also like probably the leading humanoid robotics revolutionary company. But do you know how much Tesla's market cap is?
Oh, it's like marketing budget. It's like,
the market cap's over $1 trillion. The marketing budget it's $1 million, maybe $5 million.
It's crazy.
They do, you know, they pay some social media people, like a
social
media editor. They don't pay influencers. They don't do commercials. There are no, maybe on X, on X Twitter, you might occasionally see a Tesla ad, but usually not. It's just their algorithm. If you're a Tesla guy like me, it puts it into your thing. Should Tesla finally start advertising? I love that they don't. I will just say it. I am old enough to remember that Google didn't advertise for about the first 5 or 6 years after it had come public, because they just let the product stand on its own merits. That's what Elon has always believed in with the marketing budget. He figures you make the best product that revolutionizes the world, you don't need to advertise. But at this point, I got people look at my Cybertruck and they think it's a $200,000 vehicle. When I tell them it's $75,000 and you can get an even cheaper one for $55,000, their eyes bug out. They have no idea. And I just wonder, should Tesla be like, hey, look, we do robo-taxis now? Because not everybody's watching CNBC and studying this all day like Bryce and I.
Well, they're really becoming a conglomerate with all of these different areas that they have. And I think they should be flexible enough to look at those areas independently and be able to say, with cars, it worked for them to be word of mouth, and it could continue to work. and then with each one of them, look at that and go, see, I could see Robo-Taxi being a very word of mouth thing, because, you go in an area and then people start using it. It expands out. Everyone talks to each other about whatever. So I could see Robo-Taxi sticking to that model. But I do think it's kind of probably a per product type question.
Yeah, maybe the Cybertruck needs advertising and the Robo-Taxi doesn't. Bryce, your thoughts?
Yeah, a couple points. First is anecdotal, but I just want to say thank you as a Model S purchaser, Cody, because you funded a lot of brand credit that I get as a Model 3 owner, and I didn't pay a premium price to get that. And so, like, when I'm around town and I get out of my car, people are like, dude, that car's badass, blah, blah, blah. That's so cool. You must be rich. I'm like, it's a $30,000 car. It's like the same as your Kia. But I appreciate it. So thank you, Cody.
You're welcome. Yeah.
Second
the Model S was not 30,000.
No.
Bad timing on my purchase, for the record, on that one.
But yeah, then the second point is, I was just looking back this weekend at like my model for full self-driving and thinking about the pricing and everything, because right now you can still buy used Teslas for $30,000 that have the full self-driving on them. You could buy a new Tesla for $45,000 to $50,000, and you're paying $8,000,
including full self-driving.
Yeah, including the $8,000 for the FSD. And if you are a believer, in this, if you think that this might actually play out in the next year or two, I think your ROI, like your payback period, if you were to make your car a Robo-Taxi in a major city, I think you could get like a 9-month payback on it.
So, Bryce, there's got to be people right now. There has to be people that are launching this business that are buying 10, 15, 50, 200 Model Ys with full self-driving, with the belief that they're going to be able to turn on a Robo-Taxi and let it join the Tesla fleet a year from now. Maybe not 200, but there's got to be people buying 5, 10, 20.
Why buy ahead just because you're concerned it's going to?
Because the minute that it truly solves full self-driving, Tesla is a capitalistic entity. They are going to maximize their profits, and if the car can generate $30,000 or $40,000 in earnings for you after you purchase it, that will be incorporated in the full self-driving price.
Yeah.
So
I'm going to go back to
will go from $8,000 to $30,000 next year.
I want to go back to the Bryce. You were talking about you could buy a used Model 3 and you said,
$30,000 to $35,000.
Okay, so why is my wife telling me that they're offering her $10,000? Tesla is offering her $10,000 for on a trade-in for her Model 3 which has full self-driving option.
Tesla wants a new car sell. They would like her to sell that to them and get.
Yeah, but that's paying $10,000 for it is like, instead, if she went and sold, you're saying if she sold it used, she can get well more than the $10,000.
Okay, well, I bet we're not talking like they're not offering to buy her car outright for $10,000. They're saying they'll give her a $10,000 discount on the other car. There's probably $20,000, $25,000 of inherent value in what they're offering her for the Model 3.
I'm sorry, I got confused on what you were saying.
There's no way that they're saying, hey, her car is worth $10,000.
That's where I'm saying, like, I'm working a little bit game of telephone because, here's what she's saying, and I haven't gotten involved or something. But I did say that sounds oddly low.
Yeah, no.
Yeah,
it's $30,000 for a used Model 3 with full self-driving, and we're talking a 4-year-old Model 3, not a newer one.
I did Tesla had a promotion earlier this year that if you bought a new Tesla, you could actually transfer your FSD subscription if you've paid for it to a new one, which is they haven't allowed that in the past. And so I looked at it, and I paid $30 for my car used with basically no miles, and Tesla was offering me $25, and it's got 10,000 miles on it now. Mm-hmm. So
yeah, all right. Well, it's so I just wanted to check because it sounded something was sounded off.
Yeah, something's off with what you're saying there. They're not offering her a value of $10,000 for a car. Probably it's washing out that it's a $25,000 trade-in value. and that she needs to pony up 10 grand to get the new one or something like that.
Oh yeah, that'd be awesome.
Point being that, look, the Model 3, Model Y with full self-driving right now is an opportunity for someone who believes that full self-driving robo-taxis from Tesla will be working in major cities around the country. Maybe a year from now. Bryce is optimistic about that. I would say it's 2 years from now, but whatever, a year or two. If you can buy a car for $35,000 and it generates $30,000 in earnings for you 2 years from now, like, you know, as a Wall Street guy, you dream about a 2-year payback period.
Are they already printing out Model 2s? The actual robo-taxi cars?
Probably not. They're probably revamping a line right now, and within 3 to 6 months, they're the Model 2. Let's just call it the Cybercab is what they're calling that. The Cybercab will probably be rolling out in, I don't even know, mass production would be the right term, but in full production, at least a few thousand next year.
And then what about the fact that, you know, my Model 3 has the older version of hardware, and they said that, oh, they're going to have to upgrade you because
they will. Let's just put it in context. If you're going to have to, if Tesla's going to, and they do, you have an older version of the camera system in your car, and Tesla will, if you pay for full self-driving, Elon has said Tesla's going to have to eat it, and they're going to have to pay for a new camera system to be, they call it AI 5. Right, Bryce?
AI 4 is what they're using now.
So AI 4 and or AI 5, if depending on when you go do it, but you're going to go get a new version of the hardware put in the car, and it will cost Tesla probably somewhere between $500 to $1,500 for equipment and labor to do that for you. And again, if the car is actually going to be full self-driving robo-taxi, $30,000 a year of potential revenue generation, like the Waymo costs $150,000 to put LiDARs, radars, and 56 cameras on it.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, not that really big a deal to spend $2,000 on every old Model 3.
Tesla spends it.
Right. Tesla will spend it. Tesla will eat it.
But they're not going to do it until they reach the equivalent of their AGI, their checkpoint of, you know, it works.
Yeah, I don't know what that, there's got to be some sort of threshold that is met that then they say, yes, all of those people that purchased that deserve this now. I'm not sure what that threshold is.
It'd have to be them declaring. It
will be Tesla saying, yes, make appointments, go on the Tesla app, make the appointment, bring it to a service center, even they'll send a service agent out while you're working and change it out while it's in the parking lot.
But I'm saying the milestone will be them saying we have achieved full self-driving. Like,
I don't know, probably that would make sense, John, but it could be slightly before that or a year after that. I don't know.
And then if they're already in Austin and they're running, you expect them to be in beta for a year?
My answer will be different than Bryce's. I think it'll be 6 months to a year of rolling it out around Austin and maybe San Francisco and maybe Atlanta. Mm-hmm. And so you might have 3 cities operating more than 100 in total robo-taxis a year from now. That would be where I think would be a reasonably optimistic timeline even. Bryce, you're much more optimistic than that. I don't think you're reasonable about your optimism.
Yeah, I'm biased. I own the car. I bought the car for this reason. I bought it last September. So, you know, I've been waiting 9 months now to monetize my vehicle. But in the meantime, I have a great product that I get to use every day. My favorite part of the trade, in addition to the upside and maybe like a 1 to 2 year payback, is I do think like your downside is like maybe a couple years of depreciation. But if you just bought the cars, put them in storage, you know, don't insure them, don't drive them, just put them in a garage, you're actually like limiting your downside, you know, to maybe the cost, you know, the value of the FSD, you're going to lose that or something, you know. So maybe you have a 100% upside in 2 years versus a 20% downside if it doesn't work out or something.
So actually, yeah, I mean, again, as a hedge fund manager, you look at the risk reward scenario and you're like, hey, let's assume the worst case scenario that robo-taxis are still just in Austin 3 years from now, and that you don't get to make money with your Model Y and full self-driving. Well, then you're probably going to go sell the fleet. You bought 50 of them, you go sell them, you eat 20% because the cars have depreciated a little and they've got the newer models are a little better and blah, blah, blah. Okay, so you lost 20% on a trade. I mean, that happens once a month over at the hedge fund, man. Meanwhile, if it works out at all, you're going to have 50 cars that have fully paid themselves in full in your pocket and are now cash flow generating pure profit machines for years after, 5 or 7 years after. So you have really, Bryce, not 100% upside potential. You could lose 20 to 30% if it doesn't work, and you could make 300 to 500% over the next 5 years if it does work. That's a damn good trade.
So, funny part of what you said was you have in your pocket, and I'm like, this is not Animal Crossing. I can't stick all those cars in my pocket. But no, seriously, what if I can buy just the self-driving option ahead of time at the current price? Then it would be like a call option.
There's a freaking hedge fund business right there. Right. Let's start selling call options on FSD. Yeah. Actually, though, we wouldn't want to sell them. We need a broker to sell them to us. I want to buy call options on FSD working a year from now. Yes, John, we could create an ETF that Trump's administration, SEC, would absolutely not prosecute for being outside of the bounds of legality at all, even though it might be a little off.
I'm going to push back on the car in the pocket. I do have it in my pocket.
And see if that'll take you to work.
But the point is that like earlier today, I didn't drive the Tesla today because I had to run around horses. But I got a software update, and it's like, would you like to install a software update? Yes, install right now.
Yes,
right from my pocket.
Yeah. So, John, I guess, but no, that's an interesting idea. Really, the call option on full self-driving, jumping from $8,000 to $30,000 to purchase, is a great. Like, there's a business model right there. That actually is an interesting
cool.
business
I said something.
Yeah. All right, everybody. Thanks. We don't have to talk about anything else today. No. All right, but let's just finish real quickly. Any other comments on full self-driving AI, Tesla?
The car did deliver a car to the customer on Friday, and there was absolutely no one in the car, not a safety monitor, not a passenger, and it drove like 30 minutes across Austin on interstates through suburbs and all the way to the customer's house. And I mean, I think that's just downright amazing. You can go watch the whole video, and on a 3x speed back.
And apparently they didn't even have a robo operator on standby for it. And there's no reason to have done it that way, except for the fact that Elon wants to take the risks that no one else will take. I will tell you, every time I'm in my Tesla Model S or the Cybertruck, and I'm like, I don't put on my seatbelt, and it might yell at me for a minute, and then it doesn't really care. It is amazing. I think often I'm like, that Elon at some point was like, guys, turn that notification shit off. We don't need them to be worried about that stuff. They're driving a car. They know you have to pay attention to the road. I mean, how many times are you in an old fashioned Toyota or something, and every time you turn it on, they're like, I agree that I will pay attention to the road. Like that stuff. Like Elon's not worried about getting sued for something random. He's actually, trying to solve full self-driving. It's going to take. You're only going to be able to get there if you take a lot of risks to get there. I mean, that is Elon's.
Well, you don't need to take unnecessary risks, Cody. I want you to be wearing your seatbelt.
Elon says that the Cybertruck is actually just as safe unseatbelted.
Okay.
They have so much protection and so many airbags inside that car. He's like, you don't really need a seatbelt, but you're not going to argue with the regulators about it.
No, good. I didn't know that. That's interesting.
Bryce.
Yes.
The most amazing thing about the AI revolution at this particular moment in time is probably the fact that someone without any coding experience can build a web app that is useful and functional and exciting and actually creates value for the world. You've been creating, what do you think, a dozen web apps so far?
I can tell you. I think I made like 6 that I published to the cloud and use.
So half a dozen web apps so far, including like our model and thesis on Google and why we think it's a good AI investment right now. And you can interact with it, and it understands Cody's approach to investing. And so it gives you feedback on what I would probably say. And it's incredible. And I think what would be fun on today's call, John, unless you have a problem with this, I would like Bryce to show us how he makes a web app. In 5 minutes or less, the man he can talk to Gemini from Google and make a web app. Would you like to see this happen in real time, John?
Absolutely. No pressure, Bryce. If it takes 6 minutes, go ahead.
No, it's pressure, Bryce.
Yeah. Well, my original app idea, which I was speaking with Cody about earlier, I did not like that well. I wanted to build something that could listen to a song and build a chord chart for a guitar player. But I tried it, and it made it, but it was not accurate. The chords were not accurate.
I thought you were going to tell it to just search the web for the chords of the song and make sure it picked it thought was the most likely correct version. I didn't think you were going to ask it to actually listen to a song and make that's freaking next level, dude.
I'll show you what it made.
Show me. I'm fascinated.
Okay.
I'm gonna get some water. Keep talking.
I saw in a newsletter that the first vibe-coded product where a company was basing its product on vibe coding, the company sold for $80 million.
Are you serious? No.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is the Google AI Studio. You can chat with it if you want to just chat with it and play around with the parameters and things to change. But then you click here and you click on build, and here's some example apps that you could build to like help you get started, right? Some things that people have made. And then you go here to your apps, and then these are the apps that I've made, right? Some of them are useful, some are not.
Oh, look at your very first one there, Normandy Landing.
Yeah, I tried to make a video game. It's not very good.
Okay.
I don't even remember what it looks like, honestly. It was like, let's see.
Right, this is front end and back end?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, it gives you a preview, and then if you want to deploy it, you click this little button right here. It says deploy to Cloud Run, and it uses the Google Cloud Run, and then you link it up to one of your Google Cloud projects, and then it will give you a URL. That's
so it seems
go ahead and leave it, Bryce. It's not loading anyway. Go show us the other stuff that you wanted to show us.
Okay, well, I'll show you the Chord, the sheet music maker, and this is what it spit out. I want Google. I wish they would save your chat history here. They don't do that. So like the prompts I gave it.
That's an update they're going to give in the next month.
5 minutes ago. So anyways, this is Chord AI. It named it. It says allowed access to microphone. Sure, right. And so then it's like start recording. So I'll just play something and see if it picks it up. That's what I was doing earlier.
Okay.
Your mic's not great, Bryce. I don't know if it's working well.
It might be my speaker's too far away. But anyways, then it spits out the chord progression. But that's it. That chord.
Literally, you did this in 5 minutes. You were like, "Hey, I want to do this."
The chords just aren't right. The song's in G. I know the chords of the song, but you can transpose it. The chord it's close actually. It's G, E minor, C, D. So it's not really that close.
It's not. It's not telling you B flat.
Right. But yeah, and it made the ability to transpose it, which I told it to do that. But I don't know that
on the left side. Can you say I make it so I can paste a YouTube music video link for the AI to process the chord of which the chords will be processed?
So the cool part with vibe coding is that like you just iterate with the AI just like this, right? And so
Like right now, that was a vibe code. We just did a
Right.
vibe code.
right. And so like if you want to watch it think, you click through this, right? And you can see what it's thinking about. I'm focused on integrating the user's request to enable Chord analysis from YouTube videos. My thought is we should allow an input field for video URLs, right?
Yeah,
And
man. How long will it process that?
And then so it's creating this, and then it'll start coding, right? And John, you probably know what all these stuff is.
Well, that's all front end.
Right. This is front end stuff. Okay.
Yeah, the TypeScript.
And then you can click through this, and you can actually see the code. And you can edit the code manually if you know how to do that. I don't.
Go back, show us where it's about to make the code.
Yeah, it's thinking about how to do it.
Do you have to click something else on that menu in the middle that you?
No, it'll go once it's. See here, it's going now.
Of course, I can.
Holy shit!
Right.
Well, let's see if it
All
can.
right, now, Bryce,
Always going to say.
Search YouTube
And look what
for.
it did. No, it's not ready. First, it's saying, of course, it can do this, and it's working on doing it. And also, it always pats him on the back. It's like, this is a great idea.
Yeah, they will. The AIs will placate you for sure.
So it's still
John,
writing.
You remember in I, Robot, the book itself, where the robot like tells the woman that the doctor that she's in love with is in love with her too, and he told her, and he's like, the robot lies to everybody, tells them literally whatever it is they wanted to hear.
So should I try that same song?
Yeah, exactly.
Let me grab it.
Where's the
What
URL?
song is that, Bryce? I recognized it, but I don't know.
It's Wagon Wheel by Old Crow Medicine Show.
Where's the URL box? I don't see it. Oh, it's on the right there. It says from YouTube URL. So you got to.
Holy crap! Look at that. It added it.
So share, copy.
First, wait. It's not. I'm not seeing it change. There you go.
Yeah, I was on another tab getting the YouTube.
Okay, so now you paste
analyze. That. Let's see. If this works, I'm going to be shocked. No.
Dang it.
Well, you don't know what key it's in.
Yeah,
I do.
Switch it over, Bryce. See, switch it to the key to the original. It should be in G.
Yeah.
G, D, E minor.
Oh, that's actually right.
What?
I don't play the B. You don't have to play that B, but yeah, G. No.
Wait, Cody, get your guitar, Cody.
I was just about to get it. I set my.
It's right. No, that's actually right. It's G, D, E minor, C.
Okay, grab a song I know.
Do the
Rain by the Beatles. Rain by the Beatles.
Rain.
I don't know.
Rain by the Beatles.
Okay.
When the rain comes, you better. It's from the White Album. They played it, or Abbey Road, maybe they played it on top of that concert they did on the rooftop.
Wow.
There you go. What do you think?
That is it.
G.
Yeah, ish. It's ish, but again, this is a first iteration.
Yeah, I didn't know. I don't know that like if you just use Gemini, the voice mode, or ChatGPT voice mode. I've tried that before and played music and see if it could transpose it, and it can't. So I don't know.
All right, how about one more try? I don't think Hank done it this way by Waylon. It's 2 chords. I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
F, B flat, F, B flat, F, B flat.
Bop, bop, bop.
Yeah, but it could always be like transposed however it gets heard, and then shift it around. It should say that.
All right. Well, this is an interesting.
Are you sure Hank done it this
discussion? Because I'll tell you this, guys. Even just watching this right here, like this is the whole point. This is what I wanted to show. That it is fascinating that we can sit here and just come up with random ideas. Because like Bryce and I like to cover songs. And Bryce is a very talented guitarist, singer. I'm a good guitarist and a terrible singer, but I don't care. I sing, I play. I love to cover songs all the time. And even in my like Facebook feed, it has finally, I guess, figured that out. And now almost every time I ever bother going on Facebook, at least one of the things in my algorithm is like, hey, here's the chords to Girls Just Want to Have Fun or something. It's random stuff. But I'm like, oh, that's fascinating. I love looking at the chord sequences of songs. And so I find this this would be a valuable end product, but again, like this is where I call it the dial-up internet phase of the AI revolution, because this didn't work perfectly right now, but you realize in 6 months it will. Like this stuff will happen. This is coming. It's figuring out how to do all of this in real time.
Right. And there's real value here. Like I have an app that I use to get chord charts, and I think I pay $100 a year for the app. And so, like, if you could build this, if it was possible to build this, that's a real value, right? To millions of people use that app every year, pay $100.
Bryce, on that note, can you ask it to go back to the other setting where it's not the YouTube videos, and ask it if it will just grab the chords that from the tab, the chords tab off the internet based on what it thinks would probably looks like it's the most common version.
So how would you say that?
Search the web for chord tablature for any song requested and use what would appear to be the most popular chord sequence, chord tabs, chord tablature. Pretty impressive. You could type all that.
I don't know how you spell tablature. Tablature?
A.
Oh. I asked it to add lyrics to.
Yeah, I like that too. That's brilliant, dude. Again, it's vibe coding. You're like, it'd be nice to have the lyrics right in the app. Okay, here you go.
Let's see. While it's doing that, we could probably try it.
And look, by the way, when we finish this little part of the exercise, we're going to wrap this part up and we'll go back to talking some news or AI or something. But Bryce, let's make a note. This time next week, let's have spent some time on this. Let's show them the product this time next week. And I bet we can get John to participate in helping us develop it too. Bryce, you don't know the story. 20 years ago, YouTube going mainstream. Not even going mainstream. YouTube is like everybody on TV and the media and in the mainstream is like, oh my God, plagiarism and copyright, and nobody's going to listen to it. I'll come back to my story in a moment. I see that you just finished. Or it now has chords.
This is a hallucination. This is not the right song.
That is amazing. Yeah. Hallucinations happen still.
Yeah.
So Bryce, I'm like, you know what? Everybody's worried about copyright issues on YouTube. I will just guarantee that shit's going to get figured out. Like the demand for content on demand from any source is infinite. So go ahead and turn your code thing off so we can just get back to the call. And so I started a company that was going and literally did. What we did was we cataloged everything that was mainstream, like Hollywood produced content on YouTube, because everybody else was worried that all that stuff would get pulled off. And I was like, nah, man, maybe sometimes occasionally, but eventually most everything in Hollywood will be available, at least in clip form, on YouTube. So I was working, I was teaching at Seton Hall, and I had about 20 revolutionomics students. And I was like, hey, we're going to spend today's class. You guys search Hollywood content on YouTube and paste the link into this program, this app that my developers in India have built for me. And it will put it in, it'll catalog it. And I get an email. I tell John about it randomly on a Tuesday night. And the next morning, I get an email from John, and he's like, hey, I wrote you some code. Here, copy and paste this and put it in the JSON AP something place. Tell your coder guys to do that. And now all you have to do is type in an artist. Type in Neil Young, and it will go find every video with Neil Young on it and add it into your catalog. So just for the record, John has for decades been helping me do what he's just about to help you do right now with this. You're going to be like, hey, John, we actually would like it to do this and this. And he's going to be like, I'll have my AI coder program create the Python for you, and I'll send it to you, Bryce. You can paste it right in that one little file.
John, you're muted.
John, it's a true story. I'm unmuting you. I didn't know you were muted. John, you got to unmute yourself somehow. You chose to mute yourself. It says.
I did. It's a good thing, right? But no, that's a true story. But the part about doing it now is a little bit like overselling before we're doing it, which is like, take it easy there.
John can do it all, man.
So I was thinking about this one here. You know, you could another thing you could do is take things like Suno or Udio, the ones where you can like make a song from nothing and go,
right,
all right, I want a country song about this, whatever, that does this, whatever. And then it does it for you, and then feed it into your app to say, give me back the chords, because they don't do that on that. Now it's a new song, nobody knows what they are, and you go and get the chords for it.
Yeah. And that's where this is where that stuff feeds upon itself, right? There's a company there are companies that have created apps that allow you to vibe code a song, and now you need an app so that the people who vibe code a song can actually play that song, and they go play at Rosie's Pizza on Friday night. And so it just created. What did it do, Bryce? It created more demand for coding, not less.
A flywheel. It's a demand flywheel for vibe coding and for all of the
A piece of news on the copyright front is that there was a kind of a first decision from a district court. You guys probably saw where involving a suit with Anthropic, and I'm not sure who the plaintiffs were. The New York Times.
It was book writers. No, it was book writers.
Book writers. And anyways, the court said that training the model with the books was a transformative work, and therefore Anthropic did not violate their copyright.
But they have to buy the book.
Let me just add, specifically, they said that because you did not make the content centrally repositoried that people could access the actual original works, it was both the transformative and the fact that it wasn't centrally located to be able to pull. So it was a double whammy. Go ahead, Johnny.
No, but it's true that they're allowed to use it, but also they have to pay for it. They're not allowed to pirate the book and then use it. But the question is, does that mean they can just get on Amazon.com and download, pay for and download a PDF and suddenly make it part of this thing? Or do they need to be making a license deal with HarperCollins and every other kind of whatever? And if so, it sort of was half of a victory and half not.
Sure.
John, do you remember 20 years ago, Google did a project where they created a central repository of every published book, and it lasted, I don't know, maybe a year or two before the copyright cops really cracked down and made them close it. Do you remember that at all? I do. I have a file.
I don't right now. I remember there's one that still exists today, and it's got practically every book. And I wonder whether the OpenAI, et cetera, are going using it because they have access to every book there is, and they didn't go and buy every book there is, so they had to get it somewhere. So it exists now.
John,
it does get,
how much advantage does Google and Apple have with the ability to create useful agents because of the personalized AI they have about each one of the people in their ecosystem versus, ChatGPT or random Gemini interactions where you're just like, hey, teach me about how electrons work. And then the way that most people are using AI right now is sort of helping them learn or correcting them or helping them build or create a product or a spreadsheet or some written content or something. But eventually the promise is that we're going to just, hey, book me a trip to the Middle East, check my emails for the dates and where I need to go, make sure I'm business class everywhere I can be. I don't want to spend more than $15,000. And
So, Cody, it's kind of like, I haven't seen Google's head start from like knowing me for 20 years show up in what they're doing with personalizing AI. However, as the pieces like you described start to happen with the agent, you wonder why you hear things like, oh, OpenAI thinks they're going to, get into email. It's because they know that they need to be in the personal information of that person. That's not what they're going to find out about them, but it gets them into the workflow.
That's what I'm saying. Like that, and that's where the edge that Google for sure and Apple's less so, but both of them have this edge about your calendar, your emails, the apps you use, when you use them, why you're using them, where you use them, what you search, what you like, what you don't like, where you eat. I mean, that's the thing that Google has, decades of search history from me knowing what I like to do and what I like sushi. So when I'm in a city, it's going to book me sushi restaurant and I'm not even going to have to ask it. I'll be like, hey, yeah, on Tuesday night, I'm going to want sushi at 7:00.
I don't know. There's got to be a kind of a curve on this where, it only takes the most recent 3 months to get to 95%. And the other thing is, say you're OpenAI and you don't have this, it takes almost nothing to like authenticate and give access to and be like, oh yeah, I use OpenAI and I use Gmail, and OpenAI says, click here to give me access to your Gmail.
Bryce, the trade desk.
Mm-hmm.
It's got a unique amount. Like it has, it solves a lot of that problem for a Chat GPT. It knows it's got unique identifier for everybody who's ever used Facebook and or web browsers or whatever. They use a lot of different things. Some things are definitely okay, and some things might be a little bit privacy invasive. But that's an interesting thought. As John just said that right there, it almost like the trade desk would sort of be an end around for a Chat GPT or an Anthropic to end up with a lot of personalized data about you and each person's personal habits and interests. I'm going to do some work on the trade desk. Remember when we looked at that thing at the bottom and it was like a 25 PE and we didn't buy it?
It's still down.
Ever been.
It's still down a lot from the highs. The high was 140. It's at 72.
I think you can tell that I will be working on the trade desk as a potential new idea after talking to John on today's AI call.
So there's another kind of thing going on, which is like Anthropic MCP, which is Model Context Protocol. Right. And so they're getting them into the game getting themselves in the game of like being the API for AI in a way. And like it gets in between everything. And what it does is it's like it can get in front of an API and allow a software agent to talk to whatever that API was providing. It's at the front of that going, okay, here's what I got for you. If you wanted to do this or that, or just ask me this. And so it lets you access these resources. So think about the Gmail or, other things, or, Drive, Google Drive, all those. It's like with an MCP server in front of each of them, your AI software agent can talk to any one of those and make happen what needs to happen. Find out, do you think they like sushi?
I mean, you not think that Google could strategically decide, turn that shit off? We don't want Anthropic having access to people's Google Drive.
Open source.
You got to open source, and you just need to interface.
If anybody's using it, if they have an API, they put it on the front of it, and not really. Yeah.
It's an interesting dilemma then. I mean, that would eliminate part of our excitement about Google as an AI play, is partly because they've got infinite amount of personalized data on you.
But I thought what Google had done with MCP is like, it's sort of like read only versus read write. I thought was kind of what they had done to be like, okay, we can't just keep everybody in the walled garden. If they refuse, they'll just leave. And so they're like, okay, well, we'll let chat, maybe have read privileges to your Gmail, but not read write. And, the true agentic stuff is going to be able to take action on your behalf. And therefore that will keep Google's, advantage in place.
Typically depends on how you authenticate, and it is possible to read write from into Google accounts with MCP. From I just looked that up as you were saying it.
Okay.
And but yeah, this is an interesting area and one to look at. It's like wondering, like Cody got into this again 10 15 years ago with when he was looking at apps very early on, was like, how does all this stuff relate to each other? It's like this whole new world, and once again it's the new world all over again.
And this one's bigger. This one's a new universe. That one was a new world. I mean, I think that's the thing about the app revolution, was that it absolutely, trillions of devices, let's call it tens of billions of devices doing trillions of interactions every day. And that's still growing at this point. It might at some point start declining as we have different interfaces with talking and using AI, but the as big as it got, it's still it's still cumbersome. It still is so lacking and so dumb. And that's the difference between that and the AI revolution, is the orders of magnitude that the AI revolution can do economically, and then enabling the robotics revolution on top of that. I mean, it's the world GDP can go up fivefold in the next 10 years. And instead of $100 trillion global GDP, we're of half a quadrillion GDP.
Just to throw a little cold water on this, just to kind of look at it from a different angle for a second, unless you don't want me to throw any cold water. There's
throwing cold water, John.
There's some talk going on about the how intelligent are agents really, and is reinforcement learning actually resulting in more intelligence? And when you see the chain of thought and it says it's doing this and that, is it actually, and what's that kind of error rate level? Have you seen some of this, Bryce?
Apple put out a big research report, which really spurred all of this discussion, I think.
Yeah, I mean, after that, they've been talking more about it. Yeah, Bryce, John, who's that? Gary Marcus or whatever guy? I mean, he's probably like the lead font of all of this bullshit about all that AI versus AGI, and we're never going to get to AGI because AI is stupid to this day, and da. But Bryce had this epiphany about it that I have fully adopted and made him right about a lot. And I'm curious your thoughts on this. If Bryce, I'm going to do my version of it and then correct any of it that I fuck up. Basically, intelligence is on a spectrum. You got mollusks, and then, dumb mammals, and then smarter mammals, and then you get human being babies, and then you end up with middle-aged, really brilliant people who have been training and are brilliant to begin with. And then, you peak out somewhere on that spectrum. And what difference does it make if AI ever gets beyond the right now conceivable spectrum, or if it goes on beyond it all? Like, it's already incredibly smart, and it already is doing stuff that a 12-year-old can't do. It's already doing stuff that a computer scientist can't do. And whether it's perfect every time, or whether it can actually be self-aware completely and not just problematic, like not just like predictive thinking stuff, like it's already incredible. We're living in a moment where it's changing the world.
Yeah. Well, yeah, no, you got all that right. And just one thing I'd add, I was watching an interview of Mark Benioff, and they asked him about basically this question. And he says, look, our AI as it stands right now is about 93% accurate. And the interviewer was like, wow, that's like not that great, right? He's like, it's pretty great, because for our customers, he's like Disney, for example, right? He's like, if 93% of the time we can do for Disney what they need us to do, there's a lot of freaking value that we can deliver to Disney, even if we're wrong 7% of the time. and the other point I make in that article, and I made it again last week with Tesla, is that like we've set the bar at like perfection, when the real bar is not perfection, because humans are very fallible themselves. You know, whether they're driving a car or you're a sales agent at Disney or a software developer at Disney, you might have bugs in your code. You might be hungover and write bad code. Like humans screw up stuff a lot, and so it's like we think that the alternative is perfection, and that's just not the case. And so even if AI is not perfect, it can still deliver a lot of value as compared to the human.
John, hit us.
Okay, I say good. And it depends on what you want to be doing with it or how you want to take advantage of it. And the fact that what's there already is something that you can go take advantage of means you're right. That's all that matters. It's those people that are banking on it doing more than it currently does who need to pay attention to the main issue here, which I'm not sure how much Apple covered it, but I saw it in more recent stuff, which is the fact that the typical language model is very good at the knowledge side of things. Like you say, do you understand this and that about how blah, blah, blah? And it's like, yes, I do. Say, okay, then do it. And it goes and does it. And it's wrong most of the time on a lot of the things that it could go say that it knew about. You know, you understand how to write this and make it rhyme at the end like that and so forth. It's like, well, then do it. And it goes to do it and it doesn't get it right. It doesn't even know it didn't get it right necessarily until it goes and tests itself or something. So, yes, there's a ton you can already do with AI. And of that, probably 99% of it is untapped to this point.
Exactly.
So
right.
much that it can be tapped. Yeah.
And I it's like everybody wants to be the smartest guy about all this. And they're like, see, I told you it wasn't going to get to AGI or ASI and in the grand scheme of things, we're seeing the world revolutionize in front of our eyes. We're seeing robots about to hit the road. We're seeing robots about to work in factories. We're seeing coders do 10 times more stuff. We're seeing Bryce figure out how to make chords and lyrics on an app so that we can use it when we want to play music. Like, it is happening, and it is happening at an accelerated pace. And it's frankly, the other thing that's really interesting about this stuff is how forever, like DARPA and the internet originally was a government thing, and then it became businesses and consumers, and like Excel spreadsheets and operating systems from Windows were originally enterprise computers for businesses and governments and stuff. And this has been driven by consumers. The corporations, the enterprises are still trying to figure out how to incorporate AI into their CRM from Salesforce. And Bryce is over there building web apps to decode music.
You know, when you say it's about to do X and such, that's where my red flag goes up a little, though, because the about to is the stuff that it doesn't yet do. That means it's on the side of, we think it's about to, like, are we going to have the robot in my kitchen, you know, doing all whatever? I don't know. I'd like to. I want to say that's happening, and I see lots of demos. But when you bring the pieces together on it and go, are we relying on some sense of what it's going to be able to do that it doesn't do yet? That's where I got to be a little careful. But there's tons of stuff it does do that's just not, out there.
Yeah. The other point, though, on that, John, is it's like, that 99% of untapped potential is going to be utilized in ways that none of us are picturing. And some of the ways that it's going to be utilized will, of course, create yet another level of apps and layers of intelligence that need to be applied and created. Just in, again, that example that Bryce was just using, where he's like, hey, we could create an app for that app that makes music. The app that makes music needs an app that tells you how to play that music. So it's just like apps on top of apps.
And this is how an economy is built, is out of that combination of what can you get it to do? What do you need people to come in to fill in the glue in between on? And yeah.
The economies are truly miraculous. The fact that like someone somewhere makes in China, it makes a chemical that then some company in Detroit uses in a car, and then some vendor in Albuquerque gets a $5,000 commission because he sold you that car, and then the guy who sells you the tires gets paid and pays his employee to make the car, and then his employee has to go get his teeth fixed. It's a miraculous thing.
Yeah, what it just made me think of, John, is like you can look at what AI can't do and be like, oh, see, it can't do that, so therefore it's not valuable, or NVIDIA's going down. I don't know what conclusions you draw from that. But in reality, it's just like another problem for somebody else to solve. And that is like, that's just how it always works with all technology, with everything, like
the economy.
People think AGI is like this end all going to do everything for us. And I think maybe that's kind of the part like I've started to see is like, that doesn't really matter. AI can do 93% if you take Mark Benioff's work, and then other people are going to build things to help you do the 7%, and they're going to use AI to do that. So it's like, we're going to get the stuff figured out. We always
Bryce, the thing about this stuff too is because electricity exists and computers exist and the internet connects them all, and we have all of these programs and apps, and we're sitting here talking on StreamYard, which is streaming to a social media app, Facebook, and also a wiki video app, YouTube. Like, all of this stuff exists because it provides us the economy. Every business exists to either provide a service, an application, or a physical product to people. It makes people's lives easier, more entertaining, or safer. Like there are certain things that everything in the economy is done for. That's why socialism and communism never work, because the demand for things happens in a natural way, and people will go produce those products, services, and applications because there's demand for it. And what's so incredible right now, and why a company that just started Vibecoding a few months ago can be sold for $80 million, and why ChatGPT can be worth $300 billion, is because instantly it's disseminated to billions of people around the planet. Mm-hmm. Every application, every service, every entertainment, maybe not every physical product, that's still not there yet, but everything digital can be distributed over phones and computers and electricity and satellites and underground fiber optic glass cables instantly. And so you have billions of people and billions of potential revenue generating interactions. And this stuff is so valuable because as long as you can get your product in front of people, you can make money, and you can get your apps and services and AI products in front of billions of people instantly.
Okay, I'll give my last word. So this relates to what you're just saying, which is that what AI can help with is eliminating friction. And friction is that thing that gets in the way of you making that sale to the customer in the first place, them figuring out how to get the value out of the product, them someone else finding out about it. Like at every stage along the way, there's just so much friction. And with AI in there, there's just so much less friction.
So, John, in other words, AI is like the reinvention of the will for the digital age. Like it's just the will. The reason the will is cited as the most brilliant invention perhaps ever is because it eliminated much of the friction in physical transportation of things. Side note, did you know it wasn't until the early 1970s that someone thought to put a wheel on a suitcase?
Early 1970s.
Suitcases had been around for thousands of years. Wheels had been around for tens of thousands of years. It wasn't until 1970 that someone was like, you know what we ought to do? Put that wheel invention on a suitcase invention so that people in the airport don't have to carry their bags. They can roll them.
What I picture when you said it was the kids nowadays with the sneakers that have the wheel in them because they go along through the airport along with the bag.
Right.
That didn't come around until the 90s probably. But,
for the record, I bought myself a pair of those a couple months ago. I'm still learning to use them because my daughter was using them and I wanted to join in on the action. Bryce, last words.
I don't know. I think this has been a good conversation. I mean, I guess it's just like the I keep going back to that like 93%, 7% thing. It's like maybe what we're going to build over the next 10 years is going to be that 7%, and the whole you've got trillions of dollars of economies and value being built on solving the 7% on top of the AI platform that can do the 93%, right? Like the internet is sort of like the 93%, and the apps and the smartphone and everything else is 7%, but they were still like $1 trillion in their own right. So,
yeah. No, that's
I mean,
good.
This has been a good call. I agree. My brain's really raced, and I've had some deep thoughts off this call. I guess maybe my last word will be that, hey, Siri, can you tell me how we're going to get to that last 7% of the AI revolution that Mark Benioff is talking about, that the 93% that AI is already doing at CRM?
I didn't get that. Could you try again?
Really? You didn't get that? I am shocked, Siri. I am shocked that my AI on my smartphone was not smart enough to answer that question from me. Come on, Apple. What are you doing?
I didn't get that.
No, shit, really. Bryce is leaving Apple. That's my last word. Bryce is excited to go get a Google Pixel Android phone. He doesn't have Mac computer, and he's not got an ecosystem, an Apple. I'm in the Apple ecosystem a little bit more locked in than the average guy. And I think there's something to be said about the fact that Apple and Tim Cook have fucked around so badly and fallen so far behind that you can't even ask Siri anything that takes any kind of thinking at all and get any kind of help from it. And they're talking about it'll be the end of next year before they actually have a working Siri. Look at this shit still listening to me. Siri is still trying to process whatever I'm saying. Look at that. God, you're stupid. Drives me crazy. I literally just yelled at my iPhone. Yeah, that's how bad it is. But the point being that, look, I do think there is a window here, and Apple is at risk of losing their ecosystem because the AI revolution is moving past it. So everybody's worried that Google search is doomed. Bryce said a month ago, maybe 6 months ago, he thinks maybe Windows is more at risk than search. And I'm going to throw it out there that I think the Apple ecosystem is more at risk than Google search. John, you were about to show us that it would probably work on your Android.
I checked with Perplexity, which I know we've said is about the same as using Google now, as long as it's going and searching the web. And I said, what about that last 7%? Mark Benioff talks about, and it says Benioff talks about the Salesforce handling up to 50% of the work, but achieving a 93% accuracy, blah blah whatever. But down to the 7%, it says, I like this part. It says, the focus for human workers will shift to overseeing AI, managing exceptions, innovating, and building relationships. So it's like, here's all things for people to do in their kind of glue layer for all of whatever AI does.
Yeah, that's another great point, that truly, the interpersonal relationships maybe become more important than ever.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I'll keep that in mind.
I'm sorry, John, you'll have to take my phone call again next week.
I don't remember who said it. Maybe it was Karpathy in that interview I listened to, or that talk he gave. But he's like, if you asked people 100 years ago, like, and you described our jobs to them, they would think they're like fake jobs. They're like, well, you do what, right? You sit in front of a screen, like you don't go outside, you don't pick.
You put numbers and then add them up and then like divide them and make like a pie chart. What are you talking about?
And like 100 years from now, there'll be people doing all these crazy jobs that we would think are like fake, not real jobs. Like what? How do you make a living managing Claude? I don't know.
What was the Jetsons was about the 60s, and basically we're getting there with our vibe coding where it's like, my button pushing fingers killing me. That's what he used to say. Because he'd go every day, he'd go push one button.
Yeah, I think that's some interesting stuff. John, by the way, the thing that you're hitting about with the 50% at Salesforce, Benioff also said in an interview maybe last week that 50% of the work inside of Salesforce is now done by AI agents. So they've laid off, a few thousand people, probably maybe 10 to 20% of their people over the last year or two, just sort of cleaning up their business and making sure they haven't overhired and things like that. And they're more productive today than they were when they had all of those people, because the AI is actually doing 50% of the work inside the company.
Excellent.
Great.
All right, guys.
Peace and love, everybody. Thanks for being here. We'll do the AI call probably again next week.
Peace.
Happy 4th. See ya.
Happy 4th of July.